Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to the space where real men rebuild, rise, and reclaim purpose. This is part 2 of our conversation with Ange Mukadi. In part 1, we explored the rubble, the pain, the shock, the loneliness of walking through divorce as a father. Ange opened up about the dark nights, the silent battles, and even what it took to just keep going. But today, we pivot. This episode is all about the rebuild. You will hear how Ange chose family over career, even when it cost him his job. The unexpected strategy he used to heal emotionally, learning to act the happiness he was reaching for, and how he began to see divorce, not as an ending, but as a pivot to reshape his life. We will also talk about the turning point, when his son moved in, and how he prepared him to open up his heart again. You will hear about finding love a second time around, what vulnerability really means to him, and the inner work he did behind the scenes to realign spiritually and connect with his community. And finally, his bigger mission, galvanizing the Congolese diaspora to what he calls community dream makers. So, if you're ready to see how purpose can rise out of pain, let's dive into part 2. Before going deeper into the subject of our episode, I want to talk to you about my coaching program and why I created it. A few years ago, I found myself in a very dark place. I was working hard, but felt like I was spinning my wheels. I had no control over where my life was going. Everything around me was crumbling, and I was powerless to stop it. It's frustrating and scary when you've lost your sense of direction, especially in your 30s and 40s, when you feel like you should have had things figured out by now. That's why I created Rise. It's a coaching program for professionals who, like I did, feel disconnected from their purpose and passion. Through 4 simple steps, Rise helps you break free from doubts, reconnect with your true self, set clear goals, and take actions that move you forwards. I've been where you are, and I found a way through it. And I know you can too. So if this message resonates with you, and you're ready to start your journey of rediscovery and purpose, I would love to help you take that next step. So feel free to connect with me through my website, www.yvesmukanya.com, and it spells YVESTMUKANYA.com, or on LinkedIn, it's just Yves Mukanya. Let's work together to help you create the life you know you deserve. Now, let's get back to our episode. Have you ever felt like you were stuck? Asking yourself, how do I find clarity and purpose when everything around me feels overwhelming and I'm not even sure where I'm going? Well, you're not alone. Whether you're running a business, raising kids, or trying to keep up with the demands of life, we all reach a point where we lose our sense of direction. But here's the thing. If you're ready to rediscover your passion, find your way back again, and reconnect with what truly matters to you, you've come to the right place. I'm your host, Yves Mukanya, and you are listening to the Rising and Thriving podcast. So, you kept showing up as a dad, but at the same time, you still had to show up at work. All right. So let's talk about that aspect for a minute. How did you keep it together at work when your own personal life was falling apart?
Well, there obviously were periods, right? So if you talk about the immediacy, the time immediately after the divorce, those were the toughest times. And those are the times you have to make difficult choices. Obviously, you have to work. For me, when it comes to choosing right or wrong or good or better, I tend to be pragmatic without really, there's an emotional side to it, but for me, it was more being pragmatic than anything else. Because to points where going back and forth between my job and Boston, I was working in Dallas, had to go to Boston from time to time. It was extremely difficult and obviously took away a lot of my concentration for work because my priority was my family, my children. I had to fight and get things straightened out so that I can focus on my job. Obviously, I wasn't going to be able to focus on my job as long as that problem or that situation wasn't resolved. So because of it, I even ended up losing my job, but that wasn't really a big deal for me. I still felt like I was gaining bigger than just losing a job. A job is a job, it comes and go, and I know myself, and I know I will always give it 100% when I'm ready to do that. So yeah, it's difficult during that time. The key is to find balance in every situation. Obviously, you give as much as you can to your work responsibility, and honestly, if it's not possible, it's not possible. I would choose my family anytime. I mean, yeah, the financial responsibility is still there, but hey, um, I think in situations like that, the key is to find balance, but it's extremely hard. Definitely have to
Find
recognize that.
balance
Absolutely.
between your financial responsibility, your responsibility with children, and also your
Absolutely.
responsibility at work.
Exactly. So
Okay.
it's really finding the right balance and also being being correct,
Okay.
fighting the right battle.
Okay.
You're gonna lose some. I mean, you may lose some battles, but stay focused on what matters.
Okay.
In my case, my children, my family mattered more than my job at that particular moment. So I wasn't worried about losing it so much. I couldn't even concentrate at work anyways. I wasn't giving them 100% anymore. So for me, it made sense, right? As soon as they tell me, oh, listen, this is what we're noticing, I'm like, okay, so what do you want to do? Okay, well, if you can't do this, then you're going to have to terminate you. So, okay, then terminate. I can live with that.
Hey, you were okay with that?
Absolutely. I was absolutely fine with it.
So let me ask you then, because you talk about balance, right? Balancing time with children, work. How did you find that balance?
Well, like I said, it's really a matter of perspective. You need to understand first of all what matters the most with you. What's more important? Once you know what's important to you, you will always do the right thing, whether for one or for the other. And it does require some discipline, and then also you have to realize that you're gonna lose something. You're not gonna win every time. You're not gonna win everything, and it's okay to lose sometimes. Finding balance also means sacrificing, right? So yeah, in my case, I was willing to sacrifice my job so that I can gain my kids. But then I understand I still have a responsibility, a fiduciary responsibility toward them because I needed to, buy certain things, feed them and clothes and all that stuff. So yeah, the key is to just do the right thing. Regardless of how hard it is, you have to do the right thing. And having that moral compass is what's important here. That's how you strike a balance.
Gotcha. So at that period of time, even at work, did you ever feel like you were pretending to be okay?
Pretending to be okay?
Yeah.
Maybe not pretending. I mean, we all pretend one way or another, right? It's sometimes we need to be good actor. You fake it until you become who you say you are. Yeah, becoming healthy or happy after marriage is also a matter of acting happy. I wouldn't call it pretending to be happy, but yeah, you are sad, but you want to be happy, and then you express your happiness one way or another. That's how I would call it. Because I mean, if I try to be sad because I feel sad, I mean, that doesn't really. You don't see the end of the tunnel. That's just my opinion. So you need to find your happiness and be happy. And in the beginning, you will pretend a lot. It's just
it's like fake it until you make it.
Exactly.
Type of stuff. Okay.
You will pretend, and then eventually you just say, "I'm actually happy," but you don't even think about it, right? So yeah, I'm not gonna judge anyone because they're unhappy, and if someone is unhappy and is trying their best to be happy, I'm not gonna say that they're faking it, they're pretending to be happy. So I don't think people after divorce necessarily pretend to be happy, but you have to begin by pretending until you really become truly happy.
Okay.
That's how I look at it, really.
All right.
Because that sadness doesn't just disappear, right?
Got it. Yeah. It takes some time, right? Like sometimes to deal with it and stuff. And if you don't have a clear idea of the person that you want to be, it's very difficult.
Absolutely.
And I think the fake it until you make it kind of thing does help in the beginning.
He does. He does.
But for me, it was kind of different. As I say, for me, my marriage was not the best experience, and to be honest, I became an expert at pretending to be okay. Whether it was at work, socially, with family, and so on. I did a lot of pretending. But when the divorce was initiated and I was going through it, I just continued pretending. I mean, it's also sad, but I have talked to a lot of my clients, right, who find themselves going through the same thing or a similar situation, and they also find themselves trying to pretend, as you said. Some of them use pretension to hide the deeper emotion, not trying to be okay or not trying to, but just hiding behind it. So you might that stoic kind of face. Oh, I'm okay. I can deal with it. But inside, it's not what they feel. So what I'm saying is because I'm saying this because I also read a research by the National Institute on Mental Health, and it says that men tend to avoid talking about their pain, and instead, what they do, they throw themselves into their work. And they don't even realize or they don't even know that eventually that pain is going to affect their performance, their work, and their relationships. So for you though, did you experience something similar?
Not in so many words, actually. But I think my experience was quite different. I mean, I understand that people do studies and they, analyze things and break it down. And yeah, they go by statistics, and that tends to be true. But it's still a generalization, if you ask me personally. I think every person will have slightly different experience, at the personal level. But like I said, I mean, pretending is one thing. At times, I wonder if when I say I was happy during my marriage, obviously I blame myself a little bit for saying that, but maybe I wasn't thinking about anybody else but myself at that particular moment, because somebody else might have been unhappy, right? When I was not feeling happy, when I was actually being happy and enjoying my life, someone else wasn't, enjoying the whole ride like I was.
So you're talking about like what that blind type of happiness when you're the only one happy and not really paying attention to what your partner is going through.
It may have a slightly different meaning from one person to another person. So every situation will be different. So I honestly did not know about my ex-wife was unhappy. And yeah, she may have been unhappy from time to time.
Yes.
I acknowledge that, but the truth is I did not do anything about it. Maybe I did not know what to do about it. Maybe I didn't really pay attention, and focus on trying to do something about it. Maybe I did not know how to do anything about it, and I did not try to seek help for it. You know what I mean? So it is going to be different from one person to another person. So
gotcha. I don't want to cut you off, but what you just said, right? Because I'm trying to go back to what we were talking about earlier about preparation. So the fact that you can see, you probably didn't see it or you didn't pay attention to it, do you think it's also part of preparation for marriage?
That kind of preparation level is more life experience. At least I think. I mean, I was married. Well, when I got married first time, I was 22 years old.
Okay.
I was married for 10 years. So, yeah, I mean, what does a 32-year-old man know about life, right? And it wasn't even a new thing. I mean, we made it 10 years. I mean, that's amazing. You know how many people get married for 10 years? It's difficult.
Yeah.
It's extremely hard.
It is. It's really hard. I was married for 5. So it wasn't. It was challenging.
Yeah, it is extremely challenging. It is extremely challenging. So for one reason or another, you try to make it work. Yeah, it's not because we didn't have our share of crisis, but we kept going. I mean, at times, at some point, I'm sure it had become unbearable for her. that he drove us apart in that sense, and then we ended up being divorced. And for that particular time, for that particular moment, it was probably the best thing for both of us and for the kids and for the family. Now, that being said, as far as pretending to be happy or being yourself and just being true to yourself, I think we all have coping mechanisms, whether it's for men or women. And yeah, generally speaking, like we say, we generalize a lot. Generally speaking, men handle things a certain way. They tend to hide, true emotions. They try to pretend that things are a certain way when they are not. They tend to ignore things that they don't want to pay attention to. I mean, I did it in my way, you did it in your way, but ultimately the result is the same. Right?
It's the same. Yeah. So, totally.
Yeah, the thing is, you cannot blame yourself and try to figure out why this happened or why did this and what should I have done or what could I have done. I mean, it's fair things to do, right? It's normal. Obviously, you're going to wonder, but don't dwell on it. I think divorce is something that could happen to absolutely anybody. And when it comes to you, I really believe divorce is mostly an accident than something, that has to happen.
Divorce is an accident.
Yes.
Okay, divorce. So why do you say that?
Because, first of all, when people get married, they never think they're going to divorce. Yeah, you don't tell yourself, okay, now, things that one day not going to work out, so that we're just going to, call it a quit and leave. No one does that, right? But when it happened, you realize, man, there isn't anything I could have done about it. Guess what has happened in that sense? You're driving a car, all of a sudden someone comes out of nowhere, you hit because you realize that there's really nothing I could have done about it. It happened, right?
That's true.
So that's how we have to accept divorce in that sense. It's really nothing you could have done about it. You don't want to second guess yourself. It could be your fault or her fault. It doesn't really matter at that point. It happened, right? What matters is for everyone to get healthy, realizing that we will always be there, even if you're not going to be friends, at least you will be civil to one another, especially if you have children together. That relationship will never end. The marriage ended, but your relationship didn't end. You guys are still going to be in each other's life right,
for a very long time. Yeah, so absolutely.
Divorce is not an end, and we shouldn't look at it as oh yeah, it's the end of the world. Me and that person will never be friends again. Me and that person, it will never work again. That's just dumb, if you ask me. Okay. Yeah, the marriage ended, but the relationship didn't end. It just changed.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and life continues. Life didn't end. Life just changed, and you need to accept that. And the sooner you accept it, the sooner you'll be able to move on and be happy again.
Okay. So, going back to work, right? Your work situation. So when you look back now, right, do you think that the pain that you are experiencing influenced your leadership style or how you show up professionally now?
Oh yeah, for sure. I wouldn't say that it doesn't. This would have been true for any kind of pain, and divorce is just one of those emotional emotional wreck that really affects everything that you do. I think in the beginning it would be in a bad way, obviously. It affects your decision. It may affect your perception of women, particularly. You prejudge them for one reason or another. You always see, some situations that you've lived with your ex-wife. In many ways it may impact you negatively, but it may also impact you in a positive way, right? Yes. Where you pay attention to details more than you used to not to be able to, and you are probably a lot more attentive to if you're the leader of a group, to the people that you're leading. You're more, you're more attentive. You are more fair to them. You just improve in so many levels. Okay. It's not always a bad thing. I think To me, it was bad for a moment because it was hard for me to deal with it. Obviously, just like for anybody else. But quickly,
Yeah.
it created new opportunity, and I think I've improved more than actually, you know, I was hurt. I was. It was mostly an improvement in my case. Yeah, there was a period of time where it was difficult, but once I got the hang of it, it became more of an experience that I could use positively for every situation, including my leadership skills.
Okay. All right. We talked about, the breaking point, your life during the divorce proceeding, as well as your mindset at the time, but at some point, something must have shifted, right? Like you probably started to realize that, you know what? I'm not just surviving right now. I'm also healing. So, what did that turning point look like to you?
I think I mean, it was a clear click maybe 3 years down the road when, you know, we had decided my son was going to come and live with me because my ex-wife wasn't capable of handling him anymore. I mean, she just gave up. She's like, no, he definitely needs you because I just can't deal with him. It's just too challenging for me. Emmanuel was 12 years old at the time, I remember. And he came and stayed with me, lived with me in Texas. During that time, I mean, I realized that being alone without a partner in life was extremely inconvenient and extremely, it's challenging. That's when I realized for the first time that I was ready for a real relationship. Not just because I wanted someone to watch over the kids, but it's. I realized that I needed help. And I realized that marriage, again, that's one of the reasons why I love marriage so much. I believe that marriage is the only thing in life, the only institution in life that can create the best condition for someone to be successful and happy in life. I'm not saying you cannot be happy without marriage. I'm not saying that society wouldn't, as a matter of fact, I believe society would be broken without marriage institution in our society today. So that's when I realized that I was ready because I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, this will make sense. And then I started working on it, obviously. And it was fun working on
it. Yeah. So, but how did the people, around you responded when you started showing up differently? Like you were more at peace or more grounded? Like how did the people, like their reaction towards you? How was it?
Well, honestly, I never really paid attention to the reaction to it. I wasn't really worried about it. And I'm sure they noticed something was different. I noticed something was different. Maybe I complained a lot less about, what she did or did not do, possibly.
Like, okay, the complaining is done,
Yeah,
so
yeah, this guy is
he's
definitely
good now.
that's when they'll bring it up as well. It's like, oh, are you thinking that you want to get married eventually? Of course. So yeah, in that sense, but yeah, I would have to really think hard on it to really notice what people were perceiving around me. But again, I think at that point, the good thing about that is that if I have to really be honest, it's when people don't realize that you used to be married in it. All of a
They don't
sudden,
realize. They don't realize that
exactly.
you
They don't
used
even
to.
think about it anymore. They just see you as you, that single person, right? He's not attached to a wife. He doesn't have kids usually, But that's when you know that you are a different person. You're not the same as the married men that you used to be. That unit that you used to form. Yeah.
Okay. I think for me it was a little bit different. But as I told you, my I think my father came at some point to support, and it was a great support, right? But I started noticing that I was healing when one day I looked at my wardrobe and I realized that none of that looked like me, So I threw everything away. And started at the time I was really involved with style. Like I started watching YouTube about style videos and how to color coordinate, because I wanted to recreate a new version of me that was more in line with what I was saying about myself. And throwing away old clothes meant that I was just not throwing away, but putting aside that part of my life, and then turning towards something that was more in line with me, And from that point, though, I remember the first day I did it, and I put on different clothes and different style, and I went out because I was going to work. My dad looked at me as really like he appreciated it. Like he looked at me, he's like, and I saw approval in his eyes. So that's when I realized that, you know what? I'm starting to heal. And I'm also starting to I also started doing things for myself, like going out to the movie by myself. A lot of people don't like to do things on their own, but I wanted to get into a position where I was comfortable with myself. So going to the movie by myself, I was like, one day I'm like, you know what? I need a drink. I looked at a few bars around the area. I just went, right? Watch TV, like talk to the server was there. We have a little bit of conversation. There was another guy across me. I didn't know this guy from nothing, but we started chopping it up and talking about what was going on TV. And that was it. All right. So I started going out, drinking my even my brothers, with all my siblings and stuff, and especially with my friends. And in my experience, right, what I went through, healing doesn't come with a big old sign. Yeah, it's the accumulation of those little moments that matter the most. Like you start noticing that you are sleeping better. You are laughing more, and you say yourself like you complaining less, right? So it means like you just don't react to the things that you used to the way you used to, and it was so freeing because you are free now to see things from a different perspective. You are free to explore new environment. You become free to show up the way you want to show up. And I believe that for you though, like I think you mentioned this earlier, like not earlier, like a few minutes ago. You did something that a lot of men or divorced men swear that they would never do, right? You open your heart again. So I want to talk about this next chapter of your life, right? So, but before going to that, I have a quote by C.S. Lewis. He says that to love at all is to be vulnerable. So, what do you think about that?
Well, it really depends on what we think of as being vulnerable, really. I honestly, even when I'm opening that new chapter as far as my life is concerned, I've always considered that in the back of my head. For me, like I said, I love marriage. So no one would have convinced me that marriage is a bad thing. Now we may end up with the wrong partner, but that's not to be put on marriage itself as an institution. Finding the right person and romance is one thing, but getting to the level of marriage is just a beautiful thing. It's when you understand and you know the benefits, it's just amazing. It's just a wonderful thing. And in the back of my head, I was always looking forward to it. And I'm not talking about just the ceremony and the party and the events and all these good things that people do, although it's fine, right? That celebration. But for me, it's just the moment you click with another human being and you understand together, that, you want to go into an agreement that's going to protect you the rest of your life, guarantee you love in a way, so to speak, and give you all the benefit that society can offer to a couple. You are strong together, right? That strength is, I guess, one of the things that I love the most about marriage.
Gotcha.
Now, vulnerability, to me, you are vulnerable in terms of our society. You are more vulnerable when you are single than when you're married. In fact, being married for me, or opening up your heart or your life to somebody else, removes the vulnerability. Yeah, I would say it's like when you're single, you're like a turtle with no shell. You're vulnerable. And being married is now a complete turtle with a shell with better protection against the sun, protection against the element, protection against other things. So it's also like a knight with no armor. Yeah, the knight is still strong, capable of going to battle, but you are exposed without marriage. And that's not. I'm not just talking about a man having a woman as a shield or as an armor. It's also the other way around. It's also vice versa. Talking about us as member of society, whether you're a man or woman, marriage is really what removes vulnerability. It doesn't create vulnerability. Now, within that relationship, what it really means, what y'all really describing is the fear that people have. This fear of the idea that somehow, this person that you think you love will hurt you because they know so much about you.
Yeah.
Because you have at that particular moment, you have no secret for them, right?
Yeah.
At least it's supposed to be like that. In a true love, there are no secrets. And when there are no secrets, you are exposed. And that's within that bigger protection of marriage. So I don't consider that a weakness. It's acceptable weakness if you want. It's a vulnerability that's not even a vulnerability. Because you've already accepted, the fact that you love that person and you're sharing something special with that person. Why would it be considered a vulnerability at that point?
Okay, I mean, the reason I'm saying that is because after talking to a lot of divorced men, they've been hurt, right? They don't like the word. They push back against the word vulnerability, right? Because, as you said, there's the vulnerability. The word vulnerability comes with the understatement that I'm going to put myself in a position for the other person to hurt me, right? And they push back against that. So they prefer
really
to use the word
thinking.
transparent.
I think it's that training that we're talking about earlier and understanding what love really is. I mean, to some extent, philosophically, right? If you twist your mind enough, you may see that as a weakness. Because if you go by what we're saying right now, when it comes to being vulnerable to the other person, it really means that you don't believe in love in the first place. Because if there's love, you can't think of it as vulnerability. That vulnerability is really called love. It's opening up to another person so that you can share experiences, you can share future, you can share moments, right?
Yes.
Now, if you don't want to let yourself experience that, I mean, you are losing, and yeah, you may feel like you're protected against that type of weakness, but it's really loss and ignorance. If you ask me personally, that's my opinion. So us men, when it comes to love and romance, I mean, we need to be more courageous, right? That's courageous. Absolutely, yeah. That requires some courage and also some risk taking in some ways. But ultimately, we need to remember that what we gain from the love and that sincerity with the other person gives you an extra shield and more strength than you could ever have by yourself.
Gotcha.
That is really my take on it. I've never suffered that issue. I've always known that I want to be in love and I want to be married. No one was going to. I'm stubborn, anyways. No one was going to make me change my mind about that. So.
All right. So if you wanted that, so tell me, what was it like to let someone new in again? Like, what was it like?
Oh, it was the best. I mean, it was really the best. I mean, I stayed unmarried for quite a bit. I mean, I didn't get married till at least about 5 years after I was divorced. And the best thing about it is that when I decided that I was going to get married, it was so easy.
Easy.
It was really easy. I was like, okay,
really?
Once everything was set, it was set. I mean, we decided that within, a few months, we were already, living together. And then within a few months after that, we were getting married. It happened just that fast.
Okay, so tell me, what was so special about that woman? And to be honest, I know your wife, right?
Yes.
But
My wife is
I know you want.
she's a lot of the things that I'm not. I know that we tend to look for people that are like us, but
Mm-hmm.
she's a lot less like me than I care to admit. Honestly, she's everything
Gotcha.
and I'm not, and that's one of the things I love the most about. You know, I have tendency to be generally very yeah, we use the word serious. Although I don't
Mm,
take myself that seriously, but yeah, I do portray that person that's very focused and very, on point, very, really, I'm just a serious person. I'm very focused that way.
mm-hmm.
But I'm not saying that she's not serious and focused, but she knows more how to relax than I know.
Mm.
She's more down to earth. We do have a lot in common. I think she's one of the smartest person that I know. And I always say
Okay.
the best thing about her is that I know that she's at least as good as I am. Because sometimes we tend to look for someone who's a little bit less than you so that you feel like you're bringing them something. But I never
Mm.
felt like I have too much to offer my wife except myself.
Wow.
That's what I love the
Okay.
most about her.
Got it. Got it. So tell me, did you have any fears or doubt going to a second marriage?
No. But again, maybe it's just my personality. I tend when I say yes, it tends to be a strong yes, and when I say no, it tends to be a strong no. It's also a little bit of part of my personal culture.
Okay.
Something that I developed in myself.
Mm-hmm.
Learned early enough that let your yes be yes and let your no be no. So when I said yes to that, I don't hesitate. That when I said yes, to be married, I was all in. Didn't
Okay.
hesitate at all. I really didn't have. I wasn't thinking about the past and my divorce. Although, yeah, I'm not saying that it doesn't come back, but when it comes back, I accept it. I accept that challenge, and I don't run away from it.
Mm.
I mean, it's all about. Obviously, we have dispute with my wife. We've been married 11 years now. So we beat my previous marriage. So altogether, we've been married over 21 years. Fantastic. Tons of experience. So
All right.
certain things she sees certain things that maybe I don't pay attention to. She thinks it has something to do with my past experience.
Mm-hmm.
She would remind me of that. She'll say, "Yeah, you treating me like that because of your past experience. Because maybe you don't want to trust me in this because you didn't trust her in this." I'll just laugh about it. I'll think about it for a little bit. I was like, maybe, but
Wow.
ultimately, I really didn't think that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
I just judge things for what they are. Whether it was
Gotcha.
you or her, if I still don't agree with it, I don't agree with it. I don't care whether it's you or if it's somebody else. It's just the way it is. But we do have a great relationship, which I really I am thankful to God for with it.
Right. Right. Nice. Nice, man. So, how did you do things differently this time? And when I'm talking about emotionally, mentally, even spiritually.
How did I do things differently? I wasn't thinking about doing things differently, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, I was aware of what wasn't that is now. I mean, differences. I can see the differences. I don't know if I was doing those things on purpose, but they probably did have something to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Just for example, my ex-wife wasn't Congolese, but my wife is Congolese. I think we can downplay that difference, but it does have, a it may have played a role in the way we ended up in my first marriage, right? Difference in culture can play can have an impact on the relationship, obviously. Other things is my wife. We've been friends. I mean, we've been married 11 years, but I've been friends with her for almost 30 years. Even when we were young and, we had just come to America, she had arrived almost at the same time, maybe 2 years after me. But we've known each other ever since, and we've always been friends. So I always considered her a true friend. And for us to transition to, man and wife relationship, was weird at first, but then, once we accepted it and in a pragmatic way, we looked we looked at the pros and the cons, like, oh yeah, this is an opportunity that we should neglect. Let's take that chance.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another thing that was different.
So what
So
changed?
yeah,
You said like
those are the
you saw her
changes.
as a friend. You saw her as a friend. What
Absolutely, yeah.
changed? What changed?
What changed? What do you mean?
Yeah, like you say you were friends for 30 years, right?
We've been friends for 30 years
You've
now.
been
We've
friends for
known
30.
each other, yes.
All right,
But
all right.
so we just changed our relationship from normal friendship to more than friends, right?
Okay.
So we just upgraded our relationship. So the
All right.
friendship was already there. We continue to be friends. It's not like we stopped being friends.
So you had like the foundation was already there. So all you did was just not stop keep building, basically building on top of that.
Exactly. So
Okay.
we modified the nature of our relationship. We put in a marriage contract and we defined things, and we took it to another level. Let us say it's a step up.
It's like, okay, we're gonna upgrade this friendship
Absolutely,
thing. We're
yeah.
going to this now.
Real
Okay.
upgrade. The whole software thing all changed. Now no more Windows 9, like Windows 11 now.
All right. All right. So the reason why I asked you the question before is because I mean, we've seen a lot of research that talked about marriage and stuff like that, and then noticed that a lot of divorced men remarried within 5 years, right?
Mhm.
But many of them bring back emotional baggage. And you also mentioned that your wife saw a few things, you know, and the things that they talk about is what makes the big difference is whether the person have done the inner work or not, like internal work. So in your case, what kind of inner work did you do to avoid bringing this emotional baggage into your second marriage?
No, well, again, I mean, for me, it's a matter of perspective, and you just need to be true to yourself and your nature, right? I personally embrace the emotional baggages, if you want to call it that way. I don't think anyone is without emotional baggage. You get that from your family because already from the get go you're from a different family culture than I am, right? So there's an emotional baggage right there. Your previous relationship, even the ones that are not marriages, they're all baggages. So you are going to have that. So it's really up to us as we define our relationship to be able to know how to deal with those baggages, right? It's not always going to be a bad baggage. My wife, I had children before my new marriage. My wife had a child before my marriage. So there are baggages as well. So how we deal with it is exactly the same way. You have to understand that let's not turn everything into bad things. Let's not have that perception that my emotional experience from the past are bad baggages. No, they're just experiences, and they can be useful today. They can be useful in our relationship for the better, right? Not necessarily for the worse. I mean, I love having my new child. I have a new kid. I love her to death. She's amazing. That we're happy with our family, a composed family, recomposed family. So, it doesn't mean that everything is always going to be perfect. That's not what I'm talking about. But, I like how we solve our problems. I love how we all put our minds and our heart into, things. And we're all very passionate about what we do. And these are the things that I love about us. So I'm not expecting, honestly, if anyone out there expects to find someone without baggages, I mean, it's naive. That's just really all I can say about it.
Okay. You say it's naive.
It's very naive to think like that.
Okay.
Because everyone's going to have some type of baggages.
All right. And I totally agree because, as you also said, for me, when time came, well, let me put it this way. When when we were divorcing and then everything was said and done, I found myself in a position where I had no connection with myself. And I was also looking at everything from the perspective of hurt. There was a lot of anger, there was a lot of hurt in there. And everything was basically, I was just using those lenses to look at my situation. Every event that come in, it was through the lenses of hurt and anger all the time. So as we talk about baggage, to me that those were baggages because I came. I mean, I had kids and all that. So how the big question was, how do I look now at my situation? How do I change my lenses to look at not to look at my baggage or whatever I'm bringing as something negative, but just part of myself, and that's something that not hinder me, but enhance me, right? So I had to go through a lot of different things, man. Like I did therapy, right, for 2 years, and when I was doing that, I was going through therapy. I I did not talk to like any woman at all, right? I wasn't focused on dating. I wasn't focused on even speaking to any kind of woman or nothing. Anybody from the opposite sex, I was not even putting too much attention. I was so focused on myself, on the reconnection that I wanted to do with myself, right? Understanding me from this new perspective, understanding this new life, understanding how I should approach the relationship with my kids, how I can renew the relationship with my friends, because I also lost a lot of friends, right? Like you had a lot of acquaintances, like people around you that had a lot. But when I went through that process, when I went through marriage, a few friends came out, right? So that's why I also decided, you know what, instead of focusing on quantity, I'm going to start focusing on quality. And the friends that I had that came through for me when I was going through this are still my friends now. And believe me, I can count them with a finger on my hand. There's not many, but they are quality friends. So to me, it was also a reflection of who I wanted to be. Like find the people that are a reflection of you. And then I focused on that for 2 years before even thinking about even dating or even talking to another woman. But once this period passed and I felt more comfortable, that's when I started jumping. Okay, like maybe we can start having friendships here. We can start looking at this new culture because also I came to the US, but I was still looking at my life from the lenses of a Congolese person. Of course, my culture was there, but I also had to I never embraced this culture, this new culture, these places where I was living in. And it was also an opportunity for me to embrace it fully, because I wanted to see myself in a different situation, in a different position. And you also told me that you didn't do anything for about 3 years. Is that something that you did, or was there some practices that you put into place to work on that?
No, I was pretty much a freelancer. I'm like I said. I mean, I'm always honest with myself. That's really the first thing that I have to say about myself. Very, very true to myself. I know I had to struggle with few things. When I got married to my ex-wife, I had, for example, became a 7-day Adventist. I've always considered myself like a very flexible person. I know how to be, you know, really, really be able to adapt to situation, right?
Okay.
Now, for me, changing a Christian religion, one Christian religion to another religion didn't really mean anything to me. For me, it was a simple change.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that I pretended to be, in my new religion. No, I actually embraced it completely. So the reason why I mentioned that is because after the divorce, that's one of the struggles that I had. I'm like, am I still that? You know what I mean? So am I going back to my own churches or what's going on? So those are the types of struggles that I personally really was bugged by, right? And yeah, I wasn't thinking in terms of, okay, new relationship. I never actually thought about it immediately after that. But I wasn't thinking marriage. I wasn't thinking new girlfriend. I wasn't thinking anything like that. So things like spirituality was the first thing on my menu, as a matter of fact. I always recognized that I needed that balance, that spiritual balance. It's always been a strength of mine, and I cannot part from that. So I had to make a decision. I'm like, am I still 7-day Adventist? Am I still worshiping on the Sabbath? What's the use if I'm not married to that person anymore? So I had to make that decision, for example. In fact, I was going to a new church, but it was an Adventist church. And the reason why I mentioned this is because the pastor became quickly a friend of mine, and we started talking. And as I discussed, like I said, I don't hide anything. If you ask me, I'll tell you exactly what I believe and what I think and how I'm there. So that's how me and the pastor would start that conversation. He's like, man, unlike what most Adventist people would tell you, this pastor encouraged me to go find my other church. He's like, seriously though, it's like, oh, I believe you want to find yourself, right? Go back to the church that you used to.
Wow.
He said, I mean, I really appreciated his wisdom. And he told me about his personal story. He also used to not be a Seventh Adventist. He became Adventist when he married his ex-wife. His wife at the time. He's like, yeah, absolutely. Go and be in the church that you used to be before. Experience that spirituality that you used to experience before. You'll probably find answers that way. And I did that. And he was right. Okay. And this is just an example. There are other things as well. So I had so many things on my to-do list. You may consider that as a therapy. I didn't go see a therapist. If I knew better, maybe I would have found a therapist. It probably would have helped. But like I said, I had a very, very good group of people around me. I was with my dad a lot. I was with a group of good 3 or 4 friends that I was with most of the time, and we discussed and spent a lot of time together. So those things were really therapeutic. With my, talkative nature, just shooting and not really thinking about it. I don't like to hide things. Say things for what they are. I just communicate about things, and really that's what accelerated my healing, if you want to call it that way. And when I got to the point of dating, I just started dating. It wasn't a process of saying, oh, now I'm ready, or now I'm not ready. I wasn't just thinking about it. It just happened that I started thinking about it maybe 2 or 3 years after. And I told you it's mostly because, when my son came to me, then I realized that, you know what? It wouldn't make sense. It's the right thing to think about. And that's when I considered that a little bit more seriously. Okay. And obviously, it took a good 2-3 years before I really, married my wife. In between the time, obviously, I dated and went out and, did a bunch of things. And yeah, it's life. I remember times my children would come home and find me with a new girlfriend. I was like, oh, man, Dad. I remember Lola was particularly funny. One of my ex-girlfriends, she just, at first she didn't like her, but then they got along. She didn't like her. She used to call her Gold Digger. At the time, the song was very popular. She was mean. But then when they both started getting along, when she realized that, the lady had dogs, she loved animals, and Lola happened to also love animals. And that's really the point where they started really getting along. But,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I dated few people, obviously. But when me and my wife hooked up and we decided to move forward, it was really fast. We didn't take time. Okay. I had that in the back of my mind, but obviously I'm not crazy. If something is not right from the get-go, if something didn't click, I wasn't going to jump into it. I mean, that's the reason why you experience, right? You talk, you get to know people. It's just, it was a natural process. I didn't put it into perspective with the divorce, right? Gotcha. For me, it wasn't about me after divorce. It was just me being happy for me. I don't, honestly, whenever I make my decision from the moment, like I said, the next 2-3 years, the next year was probably the hardest. And then the second year, it's just life. And third year, I was definitely busy with my activities, my businesses, my projects, and all these other things that I was doing. I was seeing a lot of people talking and really growing in so many different ways. I wasn't really thinking, like I said, until my son came, and then I realized, man, now this marriage thing makes more sense. That's when I really thought about it seriously. Now, it wasn't like, okay, now it's time. I feel like I'm ready. I'm considering it. because I had divorced, I'm thinking, I never really think about it, really, to be honest with you. It just happened. At least in my case. I mean, for many people, they are very meticulous and methodic about things. It works, obviously. In my case, it was like just, freestyling it.
He said freestyling it.
It was therapy, but freestyle. It wasn't a method. But yeah, everything you say that's supposed to happen happened, but in its own way, and in a fairly fast manner, right? But I mean, it's falling in within your statistic because approximately 5 years after the divorce, I was married, right? So. Yeah, I thought it was a lot longer than that when I think about it. I mean, I remarried in 2014. I was divorced in 2009, officially.
Yeah, that's exactly 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years. Okay.
Yeah. A little bit more, actually, because technically speaking, I was already separated in 2008. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you don't count the separation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So technically, yeah, 5, 6 years. It felt like, it was a very long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So from that conversation, it looks like you've built a whole new chapter for yourself, career, marriage, fatherhood also. But now I kind of want to look back for a second and extract some wisdom, So if you could sit down with the version of you right after divorce, what would you tell him?
Well, you should probably tell him that he's doing well. Don't worry about anything. Just keep doing what you're doing. I wouldn't change anything at that point till now. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, not everything was perfect, but everything would have ended up where I am today, right?
Okay.
Basically, I would have said, yeah, just keep trusting the process. Keep being yourself. Keep believing in God. Keep trusting your fellow human beings, and keep believing and being hopeful about things. Be optimistic about things. Be positive about things. Yeah, and those are the things that I believe that I were, and I would advise myself to do exactly that.
Okay.
These are the things that, just be you and be happy and be positive. Because when you think that way, good thing happen anyways.
All right. That's good. Good. So I want to look at, this part is for the Congolese community. Okay. Because I also know that not long ago, you ran a campaign to become the president of the Congolese community in Dallas, Texas. And also to me, it means that you have an insight on what is going on within that community. So in light of everything that we talked about, like mental health, divorce, and mindset, what do you think can be done to better support the Congolese community?
Wow, what an interesting question. For me, I'm going to try to retrace what got me into even wanting to run for Congolese community, because for the past 10 years, I wasn't really involved into the community, because for the last 10 years, I've been building my life, because I've been married for exactly 11 years now, like I mentioned. And during the last 10 years, my wife and I were building, fixing, affirming our foundations, right? Just making sure that everything is in place, in terms of our, our education goals, as far as our children are concerned, what we want for them, what kind of settings we want to see them, or what kind of people we want to see them grow into, preparing eventually maybe for grandchildren, who knows, because our kids are old now. My youngest just graduated high school. She's in college already. Others graduating already, finishing college. I mean, we have 4 kids in college literally right now. So yeah, all these things were taking our time. So in terms of community, we didn't really focus too much on that. And even, you probably know, I've always been involved in the community affairs ever since Boston. Obviously, I mean, for the last 30 years, I've always been doing something in terms of the community, whether it's creating Congo Boston, which was the platform for community communication to facilitate networking with members of the community, exchanging information and providing leads for employments, for scholarships and other things like that. We've always done those things. But yeah, honestly, for the last 10 years, we did not do it. What really woke me up was realizing the current state of mind of not just the Congolese community, but the Congolese people in general. I had to admit that we are in a weak state. We are
a weak state.
Yeah, okay. we are a weak nation, not because we're bad or because something is wrong with us. It's not because of our nature or because of anything that we are in particular, but it's because of the lack of focus, right? So the Congolese people in general, that is, have tendency to take things for granted. We have a rich country in terms of resources. We have big land, bigger than everybody else. We have water. We have natural resources left and right. Animals and all these other things. We think that that's sufficient. We think that we don't have to do anything else. And we just, fall asleep on those things. And that accentuated our weakness states to the points where the wars are taking place in the Congo, people dying, our brothers are really getting killed, literally, massacred, women getting raped. And most of our leaders, our politicians, were incapable of doing anything for the last 30 years about it. It's literally taking place in front of our eyes, and we haven't done anything to fix it, to correct it. And it's just now we are really trying to, or starting to take realizations that, that means pretty much all my life, the time that's spent in the United States, my country has been in a state of, let's just call it weakness. We just in existence. We didn't grow. We didn't learn. We were focusing on the wrong thing and distracted and getting beat up at all aspects in sports, in everything except maybe music. So when I really thought about it, I did really come to the realization that this wasn't just something that's happening to our nation in the Congo, but it's also something that is true for our nation here abroad in the diaspora. And that is true in every Congolese community that I know here in the United States. In Boston, we have the same issues where Congolese community sort of exists. They live, essentially, they only exist for emergency. When something happens, we're Congolese, let's come together, let's do something. And then it fades away. And when someone does, let's put money together, we care. We're going to do that. And then it fades away. So we basically just wait for emergencies and act instead of thinking and planning and organizing and being strong.
The way I put it, we tend to be more reactive than proactive.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
So that is a state of weakness. That is someone who's not proactive about things, is someone who's weak. And we lack financial strength. We lack organizational strength. We lack structural strength. And that's basically where I decided for myself that I need to respond to the challenge that's really beating my heart. That challenge is to remove, to create a sense of urgency for the Congolese community, to be awake to the point of realizing that we are smart enough and capable enough to plan, to organize, to grow financially, to be strong and powerful as a nation, as a community first, of course, and as a nation in general. And that's why I ran to be the president of the Congolese community. So we did have problems in the Congolese community here in Dallas, obviously. We still do have problems. I did not win this election, unfortunately. But whoever, the person who won, I'm sure he will do a good job. Because what mattered to me was that Congolese people or Congolese community in the DFW can awake, can open their eyes and realize that they have something to say, something to do. And I don't know if you followed the process of the election that we held here.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
I
fantastic.
closely follow your campaign.
It was an amazing campaign. I mean, before I come and I came and ran for the president, they were already having elections, but it took 4 years for them to organize us. So for the last 4 years, they had no activity whatsoever. And when they were about to organize the election, they had two candidates. And apparently no one was paying attention to the point where there were only about 80 something people registered to vote in these elections. So we decided that we weren't going to let it happen that way. I came in with the support of many other friends. We rallied to other members of the community. Everyone actually paid attention and really sort of like woke up from that lethargy and came to express themselves. I mean, I did lose by 22 votes, unfortunately, but it was a very close election. And people are not paying attention. So kudos to Victor, who won the presidency, but he knows that people are watching. And as I said, for me, it's not just about winning the presidency, but it's about standing as a leader in the community. And I am awake, I am up, and I will begin a lot of actions in the community. So we are working. So I'm excited about what's coming up next for Congolese community in general, not just here in Dallas, but everywhere else.
What is that? What are you working on?
Well, right now I've put in place an association, or at least I'm in the process of creating this association called Community Dream Makers. The Community Dream Makers essentially want to capitalize on the strength of the Congolese community to allow each Congolese community member to excel in their area. So essentially what we're going to do is support businesses, support projects, support students, and network all these people so that they can maximize what they can accomplish. So for example, if you own a restaurant and let's say you have a $50,000 a year revenue, we want to take you to $500,000 a year. And we want to work with you in getting to that level with the support of the whole community. So we'll do that with businesses. We'll do that with students. We'll do that with churches, because I believe that every Congolese association's structures that exist today is a lot more powerful than what they are actually collecting from. Just think about it this way. In Dallas, there are, those estimations, obviously, estimatedly 50,000 Congolese. And even if you average every Congolese revenue to roughly $40,000 a year, which is beneath what the average revenue is in Dallas for those that are working, you see that these 50,000 Congolese in the DFW represent roughly $2 billion. So if we potentially have a market of $2 billion, why do we not have millionaires in our community? So that's the question I'm asking myself. We need to empower each other and rally with each other so that we can raise the level higher. I think with consciousness and effort and force, we can make it happen.
All right. That sounds a pretty good project to get behind. And as I say, I've been following you, man, ever since the campaign. I'm following you closely. And me, I'm always wide open. If anybody want to talk to me, if anybody want to work with me.
Oh, no, I am inviting you. I consider you a community dream maker, man. What you are is amazing. If I haven't seen anyone, that's the kind of innovations that we want to see happening. I mean, how many psychiatrists or psychologists do you know in our communities? You're probably the only one.
Yeah, male probably. To be honest, male.
Well, I know of maybe one or two. But
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's about as much as I know. We might have a few, but
think about it this way. It's time for us to realize that this particular area or field is very important to community growth. We need to. The Congolese problem is a mindset problem. And that's when you can intervene and help them.
Okay.
It's not because we think of ourselves as being not capable or lesser than others. We always envy others. Oh, look at the Nigerians. Our reality is not Nigerians' realities. Our challenges are not Nigerians' challenges. And we are doing a lot better than them anyways, even though we perceive them as being better. But it doesn't mean that we're strong. We are weak, just as they are weak. All of us need to rise up. And it will begin with modifying our mindset, our thinking process. We need to look at ourselves differently for who we really are. We need to open the eyes to know ourselves and challenge ourselves to raise our intellectual level, our education level, so that we can take on the challenge for the future.
Okay. I like that. Okay, one last question. How do you want to be remembered?
Legacy-wise, that's a very important question. It's not necessarily something that I think of. I just do. For me, it's about action. I hope that through my actions, someone will be inspired. If I can inspire 1, 2, 3 people and get them to say, hey, if Angel can do it, I can do it. If Angel can do it, I think I'm smarter than Angel. I can even do better than him. I will be happy. And that's how I want people to sort of remember me, right? Because the truth is, people sometimes think that having a lot of money is what people remember. People don't care about that. People don't care about how many houses you built for yourself, or how much money you left in your bank account, or how many kids you had or not, or how many wives you married. What they will remember is, what you did in your community, right? What, how many children did you send to school, for example? How many Congolese kids did you facilitate, access to college? Or how many churches did you help build? Or how many, family did you have put together? And things like that. So I think that's the kind of legacy that I wish to have for myself. At least if someone can just remember that, this guy Angel inspired me to become a doctor, inspired me to help my community and do more and pursue a career in such and such fields. It would really make me proud of my life,
Nice. So tell people where they can find you, though.
Well, I have a publicly published number. It's all over Facebook, 214-728-7221. I live in Dallas, Texas, specifically in Corinth. Actively participating in activities of our communities. I am on the web, angemukadi.com.
You have your
Facebook.
website?
Oh, yeah, I have a website, angemukadi.com. I have a Facebook, of course, facebook.com/Mukadi. I am on TikTok. I'm on X. So, yeah, I'm easy to find. Just search on Google, Ange Mukadi. I'm sure you'll come up with me.
All right. I will. I'll get all those information and I'll put it into the description
Absolutely.
of the video. So anytime that somebody wants to get in touch with you or see something that you do, you have a way to contact them.
Absolutely.
So, you know what? Again, man, thank you so much for taking the time to share your experience.
Well,
I really appreciate
I thank you for having me and considering me.
Yeah, man, like I told you, man. Yeah, your story to me is one of the people that actually transform the way people see divorce and the trajectory, what you went through to what you are now. To me, it's I'm not saying the pinnacle, but it's something that every people going through the similar situation should be looking into, because you give them hope, and that's what it's all about, because sharing your experience, sharing your story, and especially with people going through the same thing, as I said, is a very, very powerful way to promote healing and give people a sense of hope and direction. And this was exactly what I wanted to do for this conversation. So I usually like to finish with a final message for my listeners. And I want to leave you guys with this, you're not broken. You're just in transition. Right now, you might be feeling like life just cracked you wide open, like you lost the version of yourself that you knew before. But I hope that from this conversation, you understand that healing isn't about going back to who you were. It's about becoming who you were always meant to be. I say stronger, wiser, and more grounded. And your story isn't over. It's just evolving. Now you have to decide, how do you want to come out? So look at it this way. Divorce didn't define you. It refined you. You are not stuck into what happened to you. You're standing at the edge of what's still possible, at the edge of possibilities. So there's more ahead of you, more love, more purpose, more life. So to me, this is not the end of your story. It's the start of your next chapter. So here's my question for you, though. What if the version of you on the other side of this pain, that version of you, is the man you've been searching for all this time? So if what I said touched you, don't just let it pass. Reflect on it, rebuild, reach out. You can send me a message about wanting to work together. That's what I live for. You can join in the conversation, or just take one step today towards the man that you're becoming. Because healing is real, and so is your comeback. Until next time, my friends, keep rising and thriving.